Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Day, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. And today we have with us Nicole. Nicole, introduce yourself.
Hello, hello. My name is Nicole Taylor. I'm a homeschooling mama from the Dallas, Texas area. Have three kiddos, a 20-year-old a man child who is a sophomore in college, and then I have 13-year-old twins who are seventh grade homeschool children. I spent 20 years in public ed, so I'm a public ed employee turned homeschool mama. So I'm really passionate about learning. And so
Yeah.
been a great journey to both learn and to kind of facilitate learning for my own kids.
Yes, yes. So how long have you been homeschooling?
This is our third year.
Nice, nice. And was it a smooth transition? How did it go?
No, it was, I
Okay.
mean, I should say yes, girl. It was so easy.
You
Nah,
ain't gotta lie.
it was. And
You ain't
I'm
gotta
glad
lie.
that is such a good question because they talk about like deschooling and unschooling before
Yes.
you jump into curriculum. My kids were in the fourth grade. My oldest, actually, he finished in public school. He wanted no part
Okay.
of the homeschooling journey, which was fine. But
Okay.
my Caden, the younger two, Caden and Kaylee, were in fourth grade. And
Mm,
I will say that I came into this thinking I knew everything because I have several certifications when it comes to education. I was a classroom teacher for 10 years. I coach teachers. I help teachers get better. But I will tell you, when it came to like deschooling and unschooling, it was more for mom
mm,
than it was for
yeah.
the kids because they knew what they needed. They know, kids know what they enjoy. They kind of know, what helps them pick up things. But I will say they have taught me a lot.
Nice. Yeah, that's what it's all about though. That's
Yes.
that's the that's the growing. I spoke to someone else about that. Like we grow through this process. Like
Yes.
we grow tremendously. Healing is necessary, everything. Like just, focusing on what's gonna make you better for them.
Yep. Yep.
Especially since they there all the time.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So what was the hardest part? Just the deschooling and getting your mindset out of that? Because you say you were 10 years in the classroom. So I already know you were like, hey, we got to do this, this,
Yeah.
this, and this.
I was a little too rigid. I think I
Mm,
was thinking that homeschooling would be, even though you homeschool because you want something different than public school, you have to take the time to figure out what is that and what does that look like,
yes.
and bringing my kids in on the conversation. So, I thought I had it figured out. We had a schedule. I was going to get them up at a certain time, and we do this at this time, this at that time. But asking them was it working and quickly learning that it wasn't. I think the
Mm,
hardest thing for me was to learn to be more fluid and
mm,
take their feedback and follow their lead because in public school you're not taught to follow the lead of the child when it comes to education. And so I
yes.
think that has been my biggest lesson is to learn how to follow their lead when it comes to their education.
I love that. I love that you're putting it that way because it is like it's more of a lead when you're in the classroom as opposed to the following. Like you're supposed to show. I know everything is like you got to show them what they need to do as
Mhm.
opposed to them showing you. What grade did you teach?
Oh, I've taught second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. And then I've coached teachers from pre-K to 12th grade. So I've worked
Nice.
with pre-K to 12th grade as well as some collegiate level stuff as well. So, like I said, I was like, I know what I'm doing. Like
Yes.
I got this. Not so much.
So what got you to this journey though? What made you be like, oh no, I'm gonna go ahead and homeschool my kids?
You
Like,
know, I always feel like God puts us in positions where we have to make choices. And so I will tell you that when I left my job, it was a good job. It was a cush job. It was
mm,
job. It was doing work that I really enjoyed, but it was the height of the
uh,
pandemic. My husband was gravely ill, and
uh,
his doctor said, you know what? You can't, because I was servicing 9 different campuses about 5,000 kids, just really around a lot of people. And so when it came time that I had to go back to work, his doctor said you can't, because if your husband and this is before we had vaccines, before we had all of the,
Mm.
said if he catches this, he's probably gonna die. And so
Uh,
we all were schooling from home. Um, Even the oldest was doing public school from home. And so after about a semester that um I couldn't go back to work because his doctor told me I couldn't. It's and a funny, my youngest son has been asking to be, he'd been asking to be homeschooled for about 2 years anyway, 2 or 3 years.
really?
He was just like, just homeschool me. And so I looked at the kids and I was like, you know what? I'm teaching anyway. Their teachers were doing a
Mhm.
wonderful job, an excellent
Nice.
job. But I was having to go back and reteach it and make sure they understood it. And so I was like, I'm teaching anyway. Why don't at Christmas break, like, why don't we just go homeschool? And my youngest son was elated because that's what he wanted anyway. But it was just
No.
the perfect storm that pushed me to make
Yes.
one of the best choices I've ever made in my life.
Oh, that is awesome. So what was pushing the younger one to be like, I want to be homeschooled? Like
You
what was going
know,
on with him?
as a Black boy in public school, he just never
Mm,
had a good learning experience. And so, we needed to be, he needed to be able to move. He's a
yes.
questioner. He wants to pause, and public school just isn't set up to be able to sit and have those what if conversations or those why conversations. So I don't fault public school teachers because I know their work is great. That's the hardest job in the school district. But the system isn't set up for kids to be inquisitive and for kids to follow, their own learning path. And that's what he needed. That's what he wanted. And so a lot of that questioning or those things were labeled as misbehaviors when we
Mm,
didn't have those issues at home. So from as far back as he can remember, and he just was not having good learning experiences. Whereas my daughter, on the outside, it seemed like she was having a great learning experience, but she's compliant. So
no.
she didn't ask the questions. She didn't speak up because she saw what happened when you did, and she saw the
Oh,
labels that her brother got. So they both of them were not really having the best experiences. She's just more of a rule follower, even if it's not what works. Well, I would say she was. She's not that girl anymore since she's been home. She's been home. But in public school, she just did not want to be called out. She didn't, where my son was like, this is what I need. I'm gonna reach for it. So he just wasn't having he just never really had a good public school experience.
aw, and I'm glad he was recognizing and able to voice that. Like, it's not often that you hear like, well, actually it is. I won't say that. That kids are now saying more and more often, "Hey, I want to be homeschooled. Like,
Yes.
I want to take me home. Like,
Yes.
mommy, you can do it. And take me home." So that is awesome. Because I did just have a conversation last night. With a black male, and he was talking about his experience as a black boy in the classroom and the stuff that they were trying to prescribe him to get him to sit still. We were just talking about just how unnatural it is. Like these kids literally go from being 4 and free doing this, doing that to 5, and you go to a school and you're supposed to
Yep.
just sit there.
Yep.
Sit there, be quiet, don't talk into told. Just the transition in itself of like just being free and
Yep.
then restricted. That's a lot.
And the system isn't set up this, look, not getting too nerdy, but the way school systems were set up, it was to produce workers for
Yes.
plants, right? And so the system was never set up with the child and what the child needs in mind. And so
Yes.
years ago, kids did sit and they just did as they were told. But now, too, like even the best teachers who want to give that to their kids, the system isn't set up in a way
It's a lot.
where they can even do that because of accountability, and testing and all of those things. And they have all of this stuff to teach in such a small window of time to 20, 25, 30 individuals. And so what happens? The kid loses in the process, because
Yes.
where I've seen some amazing teachers that want to let kids have voice and choice and play, but the system isn't set up for that. So you can decide to either work within that system or create a system that works
That
for you.
works for you.
And I
Yes.
will say I know that it's a privilege to be able to homeschool, right? It's not um it's a privilege to be in this place where I can
Mhm.
still, my husband and I can still provide for our family, and work and have those kind of things. So I do know that it is a privilege that is not always afforded to everyone, depending on, what they need at the time. But I'm very grateful that we're here right now.
Indeed, indeed. I know some do hold it as a privilege and some say it's a birthright. So, it's subjective as far as
Honey,
like
I ain't even thought about it like that.
I mean, because like these are our kids. You got to think
This
before the
is
school
true.
system was created, this is what we were doing.
This is
Like,
so
it's what we were doing. We were teaching at home way before the school system was created. And then it was like a transition to, oh, this is what you need to do. And now the cap has been removed from parents to think that, oh, no, I have to send my child to public school, like, because that's what we're supposed to do.
I've
And I
never heard
love to.
it. You have messed up. You have messed me up. I love it when people push back on my thinking, right? Like, 'cause when I said that, I thought I was saying something, but I love when somebody pushes back and says, no, think of it this way. I've never thought of it that way. These are my kids. And
That's
I
it.
have the right to shape them and mold them. It's not necessarily a privilege. It is, child, you doing, you done did something. You messing me up.
Oh, because they are yours. And like
Oh,
you're doing it. Like I don't think parents put enough emphasis on all that they do prior to them
yes.
entering into the
Yes.
public school system. Like we do a lot to get our child ready for that
Yep.
time to go
Yep.
into public school. And then once they're there, it's like, oh, we remove that cap of being their most qualified teacher because now we have a certified teacher. And so it's just a mindset. It's a programming, of course, but you've already
Listen,
stepped out of it, honey.
I love it. I think this self journey, learning and unlearning, that's your life work.
Yes. Yes,
So
ma'am.
even in this moment, I'm like, that's something right there that I'm gonna have to unlearn and reframe, because
Hmm.
what you said, like, that is truth. That is truth. I birthed those children. I carried them kids.
Yes, ma'am.
Those are my children, and I have every right
To
as
be the
the
leader. Yes.
yeah,
To
for
keep
sure.
leading their educational journey. Like you've been doing it. And it's wild. And I love that people are unlearning and relearning and unlearning and relearning because it's a continue. Like you just said, it's a lifelong journey. Like this ain't
Yeah,
nothing that we learn or, have it all figured out overnight. But no, this is different. This is different. And we're stepping into a different time where parents are taking back that ownership, that power, like and back
right,
empowering themselves of
right,
knowing, now you
right,
know what, I can do this. And if I don't know all the answers, I know I can research them. I know I can find them. You don't
right,
have to have it all figured out.
right, right.
Hey, you got that.
I did not come on here to learn today, but I sure appreciate you, girl. Listen, I appreciate you.
Of course, of course. So you have a business.
I do. I do.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Tell us.
I tutor, I am a I love to learn.
Yes,
I love to
ma'am.
help others learn. And so, so many people have asked, like, will you homeschool my child? I can't do
Right.
that. I can't do that. I can't do that. But I believe that if you have a skill or you have a resource that you can share that with other people. And
Yes.
so I work with students. I've had a lot of homeschool parents say, I'm good at this, but not good at that, or I'm good with
Yes.
this, but or I need help with this. I need to outsource that. Or my kid is doing math now and I stopped at fourth grade. Like, help me forward. And so again, not taking, not stripping that parent is
Mm.
the number one educator. I just serve on the side as a guide to just
Yeah.
support the work that's already going on, whether they're in public school or homeschool. I'm just there to help. And 9 times out of 10, it's the kids already have it. It's just helping them see these are the things that you already know. Now let's just connect them so that
Nice.
you can be successful in this area.
Indeed, I saw your flyer and I got excited. I was like, yes, boom, resource. And I shared it in my homeschool
Oh,
group because
thank
it's like,
you.
that's what it's about, like finding the resources and knowing that the support is there. Because a lot of people enter into homeschooling thinking that it's going to be a solo dolo trip, but it's not. Like
Right, right.
it's not. You're building a community, you're building your support system, you're building the resources because they're all around us. And I
I agree.
love that.
I
I
agree.
love what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, I appreciate that. So how is it set up? You're doing online or in person?
So I can actually do both. A lot of
Okay.
the kids are so used to being online now that a lot of them are just requests to be online, which is actually
Mm-hmm.
great for me also because I tutored maybe I would say like 15 years ago, which we weren't Zooming and Google Meets and all that stuff then, but
Mm-hmm.
it had to be in person. But it is great now because if I have students in another state or in another city, we're not confined by space. And so if
Yes.
students are local, then I can meet up with them. But even the local students now are just like, hey, can we just do it virtually? So that works really well.
Nice. Are you providing all subjects or what are you doing?
I do all subjects as well as like
Nice.
organizational skills and testing strategies and those kind of things.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, love it. Is it one-on-one or can they do group sessions?
They can do group sessions. I have some siblings that meet together as groups, but I also provide one-on-one.
Nice, nice. Yes, love it. You saw a
Thank
need and
you.
you are providing it. And I love that for you.
Thank
I love
you.
that for us in general. So, okay, because we don't like to talk down on public school. I always put that disclaimer out.
Yep.
What are some things you think could be changed to make it more like, how do I put it? Like to make it more successful for the consumer, which is the child, basically. What type of changes can we make in the public school system to like service the child better?
I and I'm speaking, solely from what I see with my kids.
Of
The
course.
three of my kids. I think it goes back to accountability and the pressure that the federal government and the state government has put on the local school districts to hold teachers accountable test scores. I
Those
think,
standardized
yeah,
testing.
it leaves very little room for exploration and play and wonder and
Mm,
amazement. I mean, even for the teacher, it just leaves
yes.
very little room. And so, what I've seen my kids thrive is when I say, like, what are you most interested in learning right now? And one time at one point, you know how that changes with kids, right?
Of
From minute to
course.
minute, week to week. But I mean, we've learned photography, we've learned how to write our own
Mm,
video games. We were just at a field trip looking at a garden. We're really interested in gardening. And so if you allow kids to attach what they have to do with what they want to do, I believe it
yes.
builds deeper learning opportunities. And I've seen it like when with 20% time where kids do like projects, but the system just isn't set up because you're not going to be tested over what's your passion project. Um,
Yes.
but I feel like if there were a little wiggle room for teachers to allow kids to connect the learning and the curriculum that they have to do with the things that they're most passionate about, because I mean, when we do the garden, that's area, that's perimeter, that's science. We're gonna write. We're also gonna keep like a log, which is like your science journal. There's so much learning that we can do in it, and we can do it when we want to do it, when we need to do it and make it fit into because I do use it. We do use a curriculum, but I can make it fit into the curriculum. Whereas I don't, the system just isn't set up to allow. And I believe most teachers want to do that. Like they want you do not. Well, most teachers do not teach if you don't love kids, right? If you don't want to
Yeah.
be with kids and give them these learning
Typically,
experiences.
typically,
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm saying. Now,
majority.
honey, I
Yeah,
done seen
because
some. I done seen some. I'm like, why
you
are
and me
you?
both.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
and me both.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
most of them, right? And so I think it
Yes.
goes back to like the system. And so I think even though my kids are not in public school, I'm very much invested in what the public school system is doing around me because they're producing the people that are going to be, running things in my community. So I think too, as
Ma'am.
homeschool parents, we can't detach from what's going on in our school systems. We have choice, and I'm choosing
Mm,
to educate at home, but that doesn't mean that I'm still obligated to hold my school board and my superintendent. I'm still obligated, with my vote, with showing up at
yes,
school board
ma'am.
meetings, to know what's going on and what's being produced to be put back in my community as well.
I love that you said that because you see a lot of homeschool communities, co-ops, like
Yeah.
individuals, just Instagram posts in general, and a lot of them are like, "Oh, public school, like, oh, there's those kids." Like, it's like they're so far removed from being neighbors. Like, they're
Yep.
still neighbors.
Yep.
Like, you still have these neighbors that are in public school, and it's like, I don't know. I don't like, separation, a division, and that's not what it's about. Like, we all
Yeah.
still about love. We're all still about producing the best individual that we're trying to make, we're trying to guide. It shouldn't be oh, my child is homeschooled, so my child is better than yours type deal, or
Nah.
I don't want my child playing with yours because you're still in public school. And
Mhm.
I see that a lot.
Yeah, and those kids, I'm still concerned with what happens with those kids, just like I hope they're concerned what happens with my kids. At the end of the day, a kid is a kid.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
and again, we have choice. I see the same thing with charter and public school, with private school and charter school. Homeschooling is not just a privilege. I mean, it's a birthright. And so it's an option for schooling that a lot of parents are taking. And so just because
Yes.
I take that option doesn't separate me from my community. I still live in
Yes.
this community. So I'm still very much um invested in what goes on in my community. And the school district happens to be, they're usually the largest employer in your community. So you
Yes,
should know what's
ma'am.
going on in that school district.
Yes, I feel like the school should be more community driven. Like, I feel like they should host more events, community events. Like I said, what if, the school year was to start with a block party and have all of the neighbors and all the community come out, and everyone mixing and mingling, police, firefighters, just all the community service providers in general, just everybody getting to know each other and really being neighbors,
I
really
agree.
being a community. It would be a different look.
I
But
agree.
no, I be dreaming. So, what's your take on micro schools? I love them, but what's your take on micro schools? Like the development of, like, I don't know if you were privy to them or how big they are in Texas.
Yeah, I actually I have a friend that has a micro school. She's a former
Nice.
educator as well. And so I think it's great to assist her micro school. I think parents drop off kids, and these are parents who have to go to work, and some of the kids are too young to stay home by themselves. And so it gives them the option to speak into what their kids are learning. And there's just so many, privileges to being homeschooled, like being able to say on a subject until you understand it, and being able
Yes.
to get the resources that you need, or to learn in a manner that's most conducive for you. And so I think micro schools are again another option, and they're a good option
Hmm.
for some parents. I've seen it work really well for parents who have professions. I mean, because you got to eat now, you got to put food on the table,
Yes,
got to
ma'am.
pay your bills, and just because you're not in the place to be home, that doesn't take homeschooling off the table for you. So I think micro schools are a great option for parents to say, this is a learning structure that is best for my child, but I need help making it happen. Again, going back to that concept of
Yeah.
community. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Are you in any co-ops?
I am not. Actually, we have a small co-op that meets at our church that we started last semester, and so we do go to that. It's about, we meet 6 weeks, six times over a series over like 3 to 4 months, and so that is
Mm.
the co-op. I was thinking we looked at a bigger co-op. And my kids were like, "No, we're not feeling it." So we decided not to do that. But they do enjoy the smaller co-op, and so I've taught photography. Know nothing about photography, but I was learning with the kids. I've taught
Nice.
photography, entrepreneurship. We're doing a passion project class this semester. They have a cooking class, financial literacy. I have my youngest son has learned so much about money. He know everything about money and ain't got none,
Nice.
but he know everything about money. Very
That's
interesting.
the first part.
Yeah,
Because
that's the
when he
first.
get it, he
Right,
gonna keep it.
right, right. So it is really cool to see. And our co-op, um, parents have to, they stay there, they teach, they
Okay.
volunteer. And so that has been, kind of grassroots, kind of getting it off the ground because my church has a large homeschool community. And so it's
Nice.
been really nice to kind of build that together with the people that we worship with.
Yes, beautiful. What else do y'all do for the socialization that everybody worries about? What else do y'all do to get out
My,
there in the world? I know, right?
people think when you homeschool, you just in a
You in a
cave
box.
all day. I mean, no, it's like the same thing. But when kids go to public school, when they get home, they don't see those kids anymore most of the time because
Mm,
I don't know how it is where you are, but in Texas, a lot of our districts are open enrollment. So kids may not, they go to the
even live in
neighborhood
the
school,
area.
right? They might not live in the area, but I mean, we still live life. Like we go to the library. The library has a book
Yes.
club. We go to the library. We go to church several times a week. We're in several, I'm in a lot of homeschool groups on Facebook, and one of them does field trips. And so we do,
Nice.
at least we try to do at least one field trip a month. We just took one yesterday. And so we go on several field trips. So they're not in a cave. They do get to
Exactly.
they do get to talk to their friends. They have friends over. We
Nice.
go over to friends' homes. We meet up with friends to go, do stuff like normal people.
And as a former educator, because I've spoken on this too, from being a teacher in the classroom, when is all this socialization they feel is going on in public school? Because I know, like, from what I seen in my classroom settings or in other classrooms, that you're normally supposed to be quiet. You're normally supposed to, and a lot of the times, because I taught high school and middle school, and definitely high school, they want to each other.
They don't have time for that. I mean, in elementary school, I don't know how, in elementary school, a lot of times, even that 30-minute socialization lunch, they have to be quiet. They tell them where to sit. So school is not, and that's not even the purpose of school, to be social. So this myth that bringing kids home, and even it's funny because people always have those sly sidebar comments. And so with Kaden and Kaylee, it's always like, you sitting in a high school, right? They're gonna be weird. They are not gonna be weird. They're gonna be weird in the sense that they're gonna have self-confidence through the roof. They're gonna be weird in a
You
sense
better say it.
they're gonna know what questions to ask. They're gonna be weird in a sense that they're gonna know how they learn, what works for them and what doesn't. And that is weird in our society to be 13 years old and be able to speak up and ask questions and know your learning style. That is weird, but it's weird in the best way.
Yes, because you're raising critical thinkers. You're
Yes.
raising people who have opinions. Like I used to, oh my gosh, teaching 10th grade, just seeing how reserved and how self-conscious they were as opposed, like, I'm asking for opinions, their thoughts, their feelings. They ain't got none.
Yep.
But they're afraid to share them because of
Yep.
their peers around them, or because, authority, like they looking at adults as this and they feel like they're here and stuff. Homeschool kids are more well structured in the fact of them seeing everybody as equal.
Yep.
Like my girls, they have friends all ages. They like, oh no, my adult friend, my older friend.
Uh-huh.
like,
Uh-huh.
like, what friend? It's like, no, the adult. I was like, oh, okay. Like, but that's what homeschool opens up to, because it's not
Yep.
putting kids beneath everybody. And
Yep.
that's what I feel like the traditional setting is. It's like oh, this is authority. You don't challenge or question authority. You go there, you listen, you sit down, you be quiet and do what they tell you to do,
I
as
agree.
opposed to asking the questions, being opinionated. No, but why
Yep.
do we have to do that? So, like your son said, like he want to ask his why questions. Like, I
Right.
need somebody to answer this.
Right.
Like,
And
I
it
don't
does
need it just
something.
because.
It does something for to a kid too when you're like, is this curriculum working? are these lessons working? How am I doing? Because when we first started too, I was like, I'm gonna sit you down and teach you every day. They quickly said, that is the thing we hate the most.
Oh,
We don't want
nice.
you to like give it to us, let us learn it. And if we have questions, we'll come to you. They want to
Nice.
explore and they want to fail and they want to, go on YouTube and see if they can learn it on their own, which some people piecemeal, we actually do use like a structured curriculum, but they were like, Mama, we don't necessarily have to sit down and be taught this. We can
Yes.
get a snippet, and if we don't get it, but I think that does something when you allow them to voice up and their concerns, and you allow them to speak into how they learn, where they learn, what they learn. That builds something in kids at an early age that I mean no one will ever be able to take away from them.
Yes. So what's your day looking like? Like, are y'all more on the unschooling level or are y'all more structured?
We are a little more structured. We do have a curriculum for math and
Okay.
English that we use every day. Um, we I try to keep them like in seventh grade. If they were in public school, they would be doing state history, like Texas history. So we do
Mm-hmm.
it, but not in the way they would do it. I want
Of
them.
course not.
Right. I want them to see themselves in history, which I didn't see that till I
Yes.
was an adult. And so we have, the math and the English are they're a bot curriculum, but when it comes to like science and social studies, those things we kind of piece together
Piece
based on what we're
together.
interested in. My daughter was watching the How to Be Anti-Racist documentary. It's a book, but they have a
Can
doc.
do. I
Yeah,
read that.
yeah, I
Yes,
did
that was a
too. I
great
did
book.
too. And so a
Yes.
lot of times I'll just turn stuff on and walk away. I did it yesterday. I knew I didn't have time to watch it, but she was around. And so I turned it on and she was like, "Oh, this is so good," which of course sends her down a rabbit hole
Nice.
to learn other things. So I do a lot of those things. We use the 1619 project one year to learn. And so I just kind of follow their interests, and they usually have something that they're cooking. Like right now she's really into graphic design and she's really into like photography, all things creative. So she's doing some study. I think right now photography is what she's looking at. We have a camera. She's figuring out how to use that and how to edit photos. And he's more into financial literacy right now. So he was talking to my brother about Roth IRAs and
Oh,
those kind of
nice.
things. I'm not interested in that, but I will give you all the resources that you need to
Yes.
learn. So it's an eclectic mix on what the day looks like.
Nice. And that's how it should be. I love it. You spoke on it earlier, like if we were able to follow kids' passion in the public school setting, because that's what I felt like a lot of like I feel like identity and purpose is something that is kind of drained out of us through that, those 13 years of public school. Um, being able to individualize education and being able to structure around their passions, like you say, your daughter's in the graphic design, photography, creating things, and that you can make those lessons look
Yep,
however you need them to look for
yep,
that.
yep,
Like she can research different graphic designers, she can research different famous photographers and talk about why this picture is so, highly sought after, or things of that nature. It's like there's no limits
yep.
to how their day can look. And I love that for y'all.
I agree. And they even it's only to them, but they do things differently. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I give them like we do Bible in the mornings together, we kind of like a morning meeting. Most mornings, you know how that goes. They never
Yeah,
mornings, but
indeed, indeed.
most mornings. And so last week we were doing a story, and I was like, okay, now let's write. And she was like, ugh, I would rather create a graphic, right? And then put
Mm,
some voice to it. That's fine because I'm just looking to see, can you give me information? Like, can you, looking to see
yes.
how does this apply to you? My son wanted to write. She wanted to do so. Even in that, speaking up to say, yeah, 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 this is what you want me to do, but how do I? So she's honing in on skills that are important to her. And she's
Mm-hmm.
also covering these skills, these ELAR skills that show that she can summarize and retell and apply, the learning and the reading to her own life. So That's been
Yes,
really
and I love that she talked about some putting a voice to it and everything. Because
uh,
technology, you see a lot of people frowning on technology, and it is what it is. Like, your home, your way. But technology is going to be, is already a huge part of this world.
yep.
And so it's like you can't really shy from it. Like I'm one of those, like I want to encourage it, like I want them to do so, because they shocking me, like putting on different filters, changing, editing pictures and everything. And my children are 7 and 10,
Oh
and they
wow.
just be, yeah, so they be shocking me with the stuff they're able to do. But I like limit, like YouTube, like I need to be by you when you up
Right.
there, because
Right.
YouTube get a little wild sometimes. But it's like, how important is technology in our world for individuals to feel like that's something they could just do without?
Yeah.
Like,
And I think we do kids a disservice if even if it's not the center part of your home, right? Even if you're
yeah,
not real techie and you don't want it to be a big part of your home, they're gonna probably be on jobs or be in the workforce where they're gonna have to have some kind of knowledge of their way around. And
yes,
so I just want to make sure that um they have the skill set to learn it. And
yes.
that when they get, into wherever they decide to do, that it's not like totally foreign to them.
Yes, that's the important part. You want them to be able to keep up. Like I say,
Yep.
parents be like, yo, like you said, a disservice. Like you can't be holding your baby back unless you're gonna be the provider of their future job, or
I
you
ain't
got
doing
some
that.
kind of trust fund set up
Uh-uh.
that they gonna be set for life and they ain't never gotta work. Like you gotta think of that stuff, because it's like, okay, you may not like it, but you gotta understand that it's something that's important for our future. Because I know I did an interview with a guy recently. He talked about, like, I can't think of the number. I don't want to like misquote the man, but he was just talking about how prevalent and big technology is going to be, and how most of the jobs that are like 20 years from now haven't even been created yet.
Yep. Yep.
So that was like really powerful in itself, like understanding, like, oh, you gotta keep, like, you just gotta venture out, like
Yep.
just spread your wings wherever they go, and just like take in a little bit of this and a little bit of that. My 10-year-old talks about coding all the time, and I need to get a laptop, charger for her little laptop that was given to her so she can get to it, because I'm holding her back right now. I will say
Don't hold her
that.
back, mama.
I know, I know. I just need to go get the charger. I know. But I love that conversation though, because that's stuff that she talk about on her own, wanting to know and learn how to code and everything else. Like, yes, do that, honey. Do
Yep.
it.
I agree. I agree. And because they want to learn things that I may not even be interested in or have the skill set. When you were talking about too, a lot of the jobs that our kids will have, they're not even around now. So when I was in school, like
Mhm.
you had your core jobs. You could easily train somebody to be a teacher or be a dentist, be a doctor, be a lawyer. But now I don't even know what's down the road. And even like my peers are getting jobs. Like I'm like, I didn't even know that was a job. Like it's not even just 20 years down the road, it's here now.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
not knowing what you're preparing them for, that's why it's important to just give them a skill set that will enable them to be successful no matter what is down
What
the
it is.
that they can
Yes.
critically think, right? That they can problem solve.
Yes,
Those skills
honey.
will help them regardless of what's down the road. They'll be prepared and they'll be confident enough to step into the unknown because they have
Yes.
that skill set.
Yes, ma'am. You're saying it, honey. I love it. Yes. Like, you are. You really are. Oh my. So where do you see the future of education going? Like, where you feel like homeschool is going to be popping? Because I had just had a conversation yesterday, and they don't, like, a lot of people still feel like there's not a lot of Black people homeschooling, and I feel like, as being a Black homeschooler, there's a lot of Black homeschoolers
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
homeschooling.
Yeah, there's been a
So,
lot of research in the last couple of years that more Black families are choosing to homeschool for various reasons. I see it used to be, like they used to say homeschooling was more for like, families who were like crunchy or, just really out there and doing stuff that like what nobody else thinking about doing. Things that were just really modern society would have said was kind of odd, right? But I do think in the coming years that homeschooling will become just another one of like options, like as
Mm-hmm.
because I even see some public school and some charter school models that are not 5 days a week anymore. Like a
Nice.
lot of our public schools in this area are 4 days and then home learning day on that Friday. Or
Oh, nice.
there's a nearby charter school that's just like 2 or 3 days a week. And then the rest of the week is home learning. So you're even seeing some public schools adopt the notion that all the
Mm-hmm.
learning doesn't have to happen in this brick and mortar. But I do think in the coming years, because of technology, because of micro schools, because of now affordability of co-ops, um, because of these grassroots co-ops and organizations where people are saying, let's pool our resources. I do think that we'll see it becoming a lot more mainstream than it is right now.
Yes, yes. I see it being a talk, like as opposed to, everyone already just assuming that you sending your child to public school is gonna be like, oh, what you gonna do? You gonna
Yep,
homeschool or you
yep,
gonna send them to public school or you gonna send them here? Or, it's
yep,
gonna be a
yep.
conversation like it's not gonna be a just, oh, already thinking, oh, you go to public school, oh, they go to public school, or it's like, oh, what you do? What kind of
We
school
got
you go
options.
to?
Yep, we have
Yeah.
options. Yep, yep.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love where we're going. I love the conversations that are being had. These are very important conversations to have in general. So I'm glad that they're being had. Um, so what's next? What's next as far as your tutoring going, homeschooling going? What's next? Like what are y'all incorporating into just anything? Like
So we are cooking up some stuff. I was actually we were talking this week in that my kids aren't big on they don't want to go to a co-op like several days a week, but
mm-hmm,
we are exploring some ideas of learning in community with others in our area. We don't have a community co-op. And so that has been my big conversation in the last month or so. Like,
nice.
if I'm looking for it, it's got to be other people in my area that are looking for it. And so I really think we're going to start those conversations around. We have the church homeschool co-op. It's going wonderfully well, but it's only like twice a month. And so
Yeah.
we were looking to maybe learn in community with a few more people, even in our, larger community, a couple of times a week. And so again, not I'm I am iterating with the 13-year-olds. And so because if I'm dreaming up something for them, I can't dream for
Yes.
them. I have to bring them in on the conversation. And so we're looking at that. Of course, with the tutoring, I love to tutor, but with the tutoring, looking at ideas to not just remediate, but also, because tutoring is remediation. You didn't get it, let me help you, but also like some exploratory learning. Like, hey, you want to learn robotics? I got somebody that can come teach me and you. Like, let's learn together.
Nice.
Let's nerd out. So we're doing a lot of conversations around that as well.
I
Um,
like that. Let's nerd out.
yeah, yeah, because when you think of a tutor or, a tutor is just a guide, is just an assistant. Our kids
Mhm.
don't, sometimes I know sometimes I would love something and I just want to go further. I want to go deeper. I'm a math person. I love math. Like I'm always, even going down the street, I'm adding and subtracting and dividing license plate. That's the game I play in the car, license plates, because I want to, see how I can make those numbers get together to give me an even number. That's a game that we play. It's kids like me
Nice.
all over this community. They just
Yes,
want
I'm
to
not one of them. Look,
get,
I'm not there. I'm not there. I taught English.
they just want to get together and play with some numbers, or there are kids all over my community who want to read great books and talk about them together, or write
Yes.
poetry and have poetry slams. So that's where I see the tutoring branching off to, like not just like, not just a tutor, but like a learning guide. Like, hey, we're also learning this thing. If you want to hang out with us, come learn this thing with us together, either virtually or in person. So lots of dreams and plans and ideas,
Yes.
of course, centered around, my two seventh graders. So I'm excited about the journey to come for sure.
I know. I've loved like continuously you make it known that you include them in the decisions that are being made. And that is so important because you want them to enjoy it. Like you
For
want them
sure.
to want to be like a
Uh-huh.
part of it and understanding that they are a part of
Yeah.
what
Yep.
is going on with their, because we just guides. We're here to guide. We here,
Yep.
like your daughter said, if I got questions, I ask you. Like I'm
Thank
good.
you.
I'm
My
good,
feelings,
Mom.
my feelings would hurt. Because I mean, I'm a teacher, right? So
Yes.
let me teach. But I think early on that first year, my feelings got hurt a lot. And it was good for me to see that,
Yes.
like, I cannot, in anything where you're instructing or facilitating or teacher, you cannot center yourself as the expert.
Mm,
Homeschooling is no different, because if you really gonna be good at it, then you're gonna continuously learn at it. And
be the
so
student.
you're never gonna be, I may have expertise, right? Which makes me an expert in this area, but I'm only an expert because I'm always open to learning new things. I mean, you schooled me within the first 10 minutes. Within the first 10 minutes, you were giving me my life on this podcast. But you got to be willing,
To
I'm not saying
learn.
you're not an
Yeah.
expert, because you don't want to discount people's learning and their knowledge, but you can't center yourself. Like you got to
I
be,
say I'm not an expert. Like
you
I
gotta,
tell people, I learn from me, like from, the things that
yeah,
I've done as
yeah,
far as like, the experiences that I've had, but I would never put
yeah.
myself in an expert of anything. Like there's too much to learn.
That part. And I think that's how we have to see education is, and even as a public school educator, seeing the learning space, which now it's my couch, it's our beds, right? It's the park.
Yeah.
But anywhere that there's learning, it has to be an environment of reciprocal learning. Like I'm giving
Mm,
something, that's why micro schools and that's why co-ops, that's why tutoring, that's why those places work. Because the person who brings the community together is saying, you know what, now that we're together, I'm gonna show you something, you show me something. This parent is gonna teach math, and my kid's going over there because I'm not good with it. But hey, I'm good with English. And so I'm gonna get something and I'm gonna give something. That's the only way education works. Is you can't just be giving information and centering yourself as I know everything and I'm not open. And I will say,
yes.
homeschool has taught me that
And that was my next question. Like, how have you grown from this all? Like,
that
what changes have you seen in yourself
that
in understanding that, like, this is a
that
process? Yes.
that part that I've just continuously learned that if I am going to be a teacher of children, then I have to be open to be a learner from.
Oh,
That's the
yes.
only way I'm going to be good at this. And so that has spilled over into everything that I do. Even when I work with adult learners, that I'm here
Yes.
because I have something to share, but I'm also here because I know y'all got so much to give. And so in any space that I go in, because I did start the journey as y'all are in fourth grade. I've taught fourth grade successfully. So this is what you're going to do. And quickly they were like, nah, this don't work for us. Like, and so I had to be willing to get my feelings hurt. And I had to be willing to
Hmm.
learn and had to be willing to be transparent and honest with myself and say, like, I know public school, I don't know homeschool. I don't know what
Oh,
I'm doing here.
yes.
Yeah.
I love that. But you gave yourself room to grow and continue to grow.
Yep.
And understanding that is always good. You're always going to be learning. Let me share. Earlier, my daughter had said something like, she had called her sister Kim Watt, I think it is, a Kim Watt. And I'm just like, what is that? Like a bug or something? And she was like, no, honey, it's a fruit. And I said, I was about to say that, but I second guessed myself. I said this, and she comes touch my shoulder, tell me, don't second guess yourself. Because that's what I tell them all the time. Don't second, like you know it. Tell me.
Right.
Don't
Right.
second guess yourself. She came and touched my shoulder. Don't second guess yourself.
Oh, that's
Like
hilarious.
girl, they're always teaching. Like you said, they're really privy into topics that I don't care for, like at all. Like
That
my oldest is into bugs, all things animals in general, and I'm just like, yeah, not so much. But she's always hitting me with some fun facts about this and this. Did you know? Or can we look up? Or this? And I'm just like, okay, girl, let's do this because it is. like to reiterate that all the time. Like, you don't have to know it all.
Yep.
We don't know it all. I tell
Yep.
people I got several degrees, but I know with all those pieces of papers I got, I still only know points. Well, I start with a point. You hit a
Right.
point, 0, 0, 0, 0, whole bunch of other zeros, 735 point, like percent of what it is to learn. Like
Right.
it's always going to be a continued process, especially if you went through public school, because you got to unlearn so much in general to get to a place where you really actually know some things about yourself.
Yep.
Like, so
That's good because I know
I
I've talked to several parents who like, I want to homeschool, but I can't do it, or but I don't know, or but I wasn't a good student. I'm like you, listen, I done been to college several times.
right.
And look, got paper and certifications. We're doing seventh grade and they stay showing me stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Let me look this up because they're learning stuff that I didn't know, but I know how to learn, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
they know how to learn. So we
Yes,
can
ma'am.
YouTube, we can go to get resources, and then we help each other and we're learning together. So
Yes. And you're a resource provider, love, and you're trying to create it. You're about to, not even trying, you're about to create a community of other learners that want to come together and help each other out. Because you're going to
yes.
have that co-op. You're going to create that. Because like you said, there are others that are looking for the same thing that you're looking for.
Yes.
So you're going to build that for y'all. And I love that for y'all because we're going to come to Texas with our homeschool expo one of these years. Like
I can't wait.
Texas be having a lot going on, so I don't be wanting to butt heads with anybody.
Listen, just
That's
call me. I can keep you out of. I'll tell you where to go to stay out of trouble. Yeah.
okay.
But
Texas be popping.
sometimes some good. You might need to get into some good trouble now. But
Yes,
for the most
yes,
part, I can
yes.
tell you where to go, and I'll feed you good when you come down here too.
Oh, thank you. I love food, girl. You
Yes.
got me. Look, you got me there. Yes. What three things you would tell parents with going into homeschooling? What's three things you would tell them? Like, just say, take this with you, carry this with you on your journey.
Give yourself grace. It's
Mm.
not am I gonna mess up? It's you are gonna mess up. Um, and so just be ready for it. I think it'll be easier when you know it's coming. I would also say that it will work better if you check in and ask your kids what's working and what's not. And don't just ask them, adjust according to
Yeah.
what they say. I think it does a lot better when when kids feel like they're being heard and they feel like they have a say so in what they're doing. Because I'm not sending them to a foreign place. They're learning in their home. This is their home. And
Mhm.
so I want them to feel as if, they have a say so in this house and in the things that we do. And
Yes.
then I will also say like homeschooling is an opportunity for you to model what it means to learn too. And so I think it's really cool to let your kids see that you're learning alongside them. I think it's really cool when I was just tutoring a high school freshman last night and we were going over some paragraphs and some of the vocabulary. She was like, "What is that?" I'm like, "I've never seen this word. Let me look this word up." But I think it's really cool when you say, "I don't know," and you say, "Let's
Yes.
learn this together." I think that also does something so that I tell my kids all the time, I'm in my 40s and I'm still figuring it out just like you. It's just on a different level, for me. But I
Ma'am.
think it does something for them to see that even though we're adults, that we're still on the path to learning, and learning is important to us as well. So let them model that. Show them when you're learning something new, share that with them. As well as if you're helping them and you don't know, tell them, I don't know. So let's learn this together. Yeah.
Say it. You better. Yes. Like, yes, you better. No,
Yeah.
I don't know that. Let's look that up.
Uh-huh.
Let's look that up.
Uh-huh.
Let's learn that together.
Well,
Nicole, you don't have me yesing and ooh yes, like girl, like yes, preach. What message? Like I've been ad-libbing my tail off this whole time.
this has
But
been
you have,
great.
yes, you have shared so many jewels and so many things for families to think about, and I really appreciate that. Like I really appreciate it. Tell us where we can find your tutoring services.
Oh, you can email me at Nicole, that's Knikole, the tutor at
The tutor.
gmail.com. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And her description and links will be available in the description. So I appreciate you, love. Any last parting words? Anything else you want to share before you go?
I just want to say thank you, and homeschooling parents and students, just stay strong. You have everything that you need to be successful
Yes.
in what you're doing right now. And remember that on the bad, because we have lots of bad days, or days where we're just like, this day's a wash. But just know, I mean, like you said, like, this is a birthright. It's not a privilege. And so you have everything that you need within you, to either give your kids what they need, or to connect within your community to find the resources and the support that's going to help you be successful.
Yes, and Nicole is a resource and support, honey. You hear her. She's dropped message whole time. I love it. Just know and understand that this is not a journey you have to take alone. This is
Yes.
not what homeschooling is. We're not in a cave somewhere writing on walls, putting hieroglyphics on walls for others to find later on. No, we are out here in the world, loving, living, and celebrating life in general. So understand that it is about building your community. Like Nicole said, if you don't have it around you, you know that you're looking for it, build it, because they will
Yes.
come.
Yes.
They will come. But understand that you got the answers. It is all you have it. I promise you do. And I tell you all the time, if you don't think you do, email me or hit me up, and I'll remind you that you got
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Okay. But in the meantime, in between time, make sure you homeschool your kids.